You are my QB guru here, Jack. I come to you with these questions, and it feels relevant week in, week out. I know we've talked about Purdy before, and we're going to talk about Purdy again. But now that you've seen more tape on him, more and more game film on the young quarterback, give me your current evaluation of him as a complete quarterback. Take out of the equation that he is Mr. Irrelevant. Take out of the equation that he's our third string quarterback. What's your vibe on him just as a starting quarterback within the NFL?
He's operating the 49ers offense really well. He can hit all of the throws that the 49ers need him to make. And that's the biggest thing. Gets the ball out on time. Most of the time, he struggled a little bit with that the first week, but as he's gotten into the rhythm of playing the games, that's picked up for the most. Every once in a while, he still has a little whatever, but that's going to happen with every quarterback, right? They're not going to be perfect on every throw. Overall, I mean, it's hard to not like what he's doing. If you thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was playing good, then you need to think that Brock Purdy is playing good because their numbers are almost identical.
Is it surprising to you that a rookie is able to get the ball out on time so consistently?
Yeah, absolutely. The way that he's been able to come in and play, I didn't know a whole lot about Brock Purdy because I didn't study him coming out for the draft last year.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people that knew a lot more about him, pre-draft. But I think he's played at a really high level. I mean, I know people don't like talking about Mac Jones, but I was a big Mac Jones guy. And one of the things that I liked about Mac Jones was his ability to play from the pocket, his ability to get the ball out on time, put it on in the right spots, get it to the right guys, his ability to move around within the pocket and extend plays and still make plays with his legs here and there. The 49ers, instead of using the number 3 or 12 draft pick to get him, got that guy at 262. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me.
That's wild. Is it safe to say with what you've seen so far, obviously a small sample size, but that he does move around in the pocket and have better escapability than Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's where their difference is, right? There's a lot of things that he does that are similar to Jimmy Garoppolo from 2017 in terms of the throws and even the movement. But right. I think I've said this to you before, maybe I haven't, but I don't know when the last time was we've seen a 49ers quarterback that's had the kind of movement within the pocket, the escapability that he shows. It's been a long time since we've seen a guy that can move around the way that he does. And I'm not talking about somebody that's going to take off and sprint for 45 yards on the field. I'm talking about that little short area movement ability that is really important. And, guys like Trey Lance, even Colin Kaepernick were extremely fast guys, but they weren't necessary. If you watch Colin Kaepernick, he wasn't like the best mover within the pocket because he needed to build up his speed, right?
Yeah, it took him a while to get to top speed.
Yeah, and I think if you took Brock Purdy, we didn't get to see him. I think if you took Brock Purdy and you put Trey Lance next to each other and you asked them to run a 40-yard dash, I would think that I bet you that the Brock Purdy's 10-yard split might be as quick, if not quicker, than Trey Lance's. I think he has that burst to his game that really helps him move around like that. And we've seen it on the field in actual NFL games.
It really has shown up on tape. I mean, it's almost jumped off the tape. The way in which he seems to effortlessly move around within the pocket, almost assisting his offensive lineman in that regard, able to, with his head still downfield, sense those around him. I've been very impressed. I don't feel like you often see that from rookies unless it is a mobile quarterback and they're tucking the ball and just running. As a runner, that doesn't surprise me. The ability to both keep your eyes downfield and move around in the pocket in a controlled fashion, the way in which he does, I've been very impressed. By the way, we've got a new sneakerhead coming in. Got to celebrate that. Devin Euros coming in as the newest sneakerhead member. Want to say thank you to Devin. What concerns, if any, do you still have? Is there anything he has to prove to you at this point?
I think the only concern that you have with him is when you get into the big game, does he continue to play the same way that he's playing?
Right.
I mean, he's played in big games in terms of, he went up against Tom Brady and the Bucs teams. That was a big game at that point. He stepped into what everybody thought was a big game against Miami and played well. He played well on the road in the big game in Seattle. And he's showing it, but now can he do it when the playoffs hit and the spotlight changes a little bit? Does he just continue to play the game the same way? Because if he does, that bodes well for the 49ers. If he has any issues with it, that's when you get the only thing that worries me is all of a sudden he starts turning the ball over and these balls that are hitting DBs in the hands start getting caught.
Do you believe that as we get into the playoffs that NFL defenses will be better prepared for him and that those will be stiffer tests than he's had to this point, or will it just be the big stage that he has to overcome?
I think it's just a big stage that he has to overcome. You watch what he does. You can't typically when you try to just take one thing away from a quarterback, or when you're watching film and you're saying, well, he can't throw the ball into this area, so you try to force him to throw the ball into that area, right? Well, he can throw the ball to every area of the field. You say if you're pressuring from this way, he's not going to be as good if he moves this way or the other way. Well, we've seen him move to his left and make good throws. We've seen him move to his right and make good throws. And it doesn't seem like he really cares which way he moves. It's not like, some quarterbacks, every time they get pressure, they want to bail out to the back. Like Russell Wilson, for example, every time he gets pressure, he wants to back out of the pocket, right? And that's not the case with Brock Purdy. He's not shown a consistent thing where you can say, we're just going to do this and we're going to stop him.
Yeah, we've seen him roll to each side. We've seen him climb the pocket, and we've seen him drop out the back end as well. Randall Riley, sneakerhead here on the channel, coming in saying, Rob, listening to other folks, all I hear is they need to see Purdy in the next game. The next game will be the defense or the team that will trip him up, a.k.a. figure him out. I'll keep waiting. Laugh my ass off. Randall has been on the Brock train for quite some time, and I respect that. I respect the fact that he jumped on before the first stop, and he's been riding it nonstop ever since. Do you believe that there's a concern with Purdy if NFL defenses were to take away the middle of the field, much like teams have tried to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, that would hem him up a bit? Or does he have a more live arm, and is he able to take advantage of that?
No, I don't think it's an issue. We've seen teams try to do some of those things to him already, and he still beats it or gets the ball in different areas. I mean, that's been something that people have said about Jimmy Garoppolo for years, going back to 2018, even probably, right? I mean, this is a long-term thing. Yet he just continues to hit balls in that area. With Brock Purdy, he can throw those passes into those areas, but he can also throw the out route. He can also throw the ball deep beyond 20 yards, wherever you want to go. And those deep shots are usually coming within rhythm of the offense. I just think he's playing at a really high level. He has a lot of weapons around him to help him. And like I said, the only thing that's going to stop him is if he makes those bad throws, like against Seattle, right? The ball hits the guy right in the hands and he's catch it. The ball against Tampa Bay, I think it was, where it's a pick, and he gets a break on the penalty on the other side. So, if those don't go the 49ers' way, then that's when they're going to be in trouble. And I just worry that would happen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And real quick, if I can too,
absolutely.
To what Randall said there, everybody just wants to wait for the next game. At some point, he's going to lose a game. And if it happens in the playoffs, what you're going to hear is I told you, because look, I've been telling you that his arm isn't strong enough. I've been telling you that he's not, an A1 quarter. You're going to hear it. And eventually, if you say something long enough, you're always going to be right if you just keep saying it. I used to say that about the 49ers back in the 80s and early 90s with some of the people that are still writing about the team back, but they'd be ripping on these are the days, and I was like, as long as you say the 49ers are going to suck, at some point, eventually you're going to be right.
Right.
And at some point you're going to finally be right. It doesn't mean that you're right for saying it for the first 8 weeks when you're wrong, but finally all of a sudden you have your justification.
Yes. A broken clock is right twice a day, right? If you just stick to that time, eventually the circle will happen and you'll be proven right, but you're really not right in that instance to that point. All right, we've got a super chat coming in from Devin, our newest sneakerhead as well. Says, look at Brady and Rodgers. They don't sprint for 40 yards. They move around and extend plays. Then they deliver a great pass. They're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks. This is what Purdy does, and he will still grow. It does lead you to be optimistic within an offense that consistently can scheme players to get open. If you have a quarterback who's capable of moving around in the pocket, extending plays, but keeping his eyes downfield, that just seems to me a recipe for success. And it's easy to understand why Kyle Shanahan is excited by what he's seeing from the young guy.
Yeah. And what Devin is saying right here is right on board with the way that I feel about the quarterback position. Show me the guy show me the quarterback that's won a Super Bowl running around. You're not, because there isn't
Right.
one, right? Patrick Mahomes, I know he's an extremely athletic quarterback, but he beat the 49ers in that game with throws in the pocket.
Right.
And
you could take away his legs and he's still winning a bunch of games, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, when we're looking, that's another reason. I know people don't, I'm going to keep saying it because I know people don't like him. So I'm bringing up Mac Jones. And again, but that's my evaluation that people know me by. But that's what when we were looking at the draft last year, I said, the best guy that's going to be in the 2021 draft, the guy that's going to get you to the Super Bowl is the guy that can make the plays from the pocket. And what we're seeing with Brock Purdy is a guy that can consistently make the plays in the pocket, and he has enough athleticism to make defenders miss. We've seen him do it repeatedly now. It's not like it's only done it once. He's done it on multiple occasions. And if you can make guys miss in the pocket, move around a little bit, that's what makes you deadly as a quarterback, especially if you can hit those throws when they're open.
Well, I got to say, I wasn't excited about the possibility of drafting Mac Jones, but when you made the case that you did, I felt your logic was incredibly strong, and you swayed me with that. I still wasn't excited because the product didn't feel exciting, but I got it. Like, I understood what you were driving at, and now we see when someone is able to execute in that way, just how pretty this offense can look, and that it doesn't require a huge, diverse set of skill talent to get that done, that you can operate within the scheme. You can be a less than stellar physical specimen, still a great quarterback, still capable of making all the throws, but not that kind of athlete that is a jaw dropper that gets you drafted in the first round. And now you're seeing it with Brock Purdy. It's very exciting.